done some no start, no crank challenges with this 2009 Cayman 987.2, and I've already started troubleshooting, but I've been through a few things, so I'm going to recreate some of that. And right now it's still not running, but hopefully we'll figure it out. So little things, I've changed the batteries in both key fobs, and you can see that it does recognize the key numbers between key 1 and key 2. I definitely have battery power. When I give it one click, I've got all my lights, check engine and so forth. The PSM failure is from hooking the battery up on and off, I think. Hopefully that'll clear when we get this thing running. Clutch in, brake in, and I guess it's working. Huh. Well, I'm as shocked as you. I had let it sit for a week, so I'm not done yet. I still don't know why. Here's what I've been through so far, and maybe we'll learn something new. So you can see that things are a little torn apart down here. Of course, one of the first things I did was go through the fuses, and I'm going to double check a few again, but clearly it's running. First things folks will tell you is the clutch switches. There's two switches under here on the clutch. There is one, the white one over here. That's the actual one. I don't know if we can see it. Yeah, right there. That's the actual one that measures the clutch engagement when you push it in, so that it won't start the engine without the clutch in. This second one right here, the red one, that disengages the cruise control. So you can see there's just a couple spade type connectors right here. It's a $30 switch. It's inexpensive to repair and relatively easy to get to. But one of the first things I did was just pull the leads off and jumpered the cables to give it a constant signal that the clutch was in, and that did not do anything for me. I also checked the switch with a continuity tester, and when you cycled the pedals, or the pedal, you can kind of hear it, but it was working. So that got eliminated pretty quick. Next, I moved on to this relay block. Now the relay block was hard to find initially. I didn't realize, but you sit here and you look at the underside of it. And there's a cover you pull off, and then to get this out, you kind of push it up, and then you have to kind of twist it and pull it out. So there's several relays in here. The one that has this yellow with the violet stripe wire going to it on the back side here, right there in the corner. This guy right here, that's for the starter. So I took out the relay diagram, or the wiring diagram, and found the path, although honestly it wasn't very helpful compared to just tracing the wires. The relay out and bench tested it with a little power tester and a continuity meter to make sure that I was getting the right readings with the clutch in and out. The relays were working fine. You can hear them click, you can bench test them, they're fine, and then I got the right voltage. Of course, initially I did the basics, which was to check the battery and make sure it was fully charged. I have a battery tender. I hooked it up overnight, made sure it was fully charged, and then I checked the voltage on it. This guy right here is great for continuity checks and so forth, but under the voltage reading, it only gives me 2 digits. So when I checked the voltage here, all I know is that I have 12 or 13 volts, and it was reading 12 before actually. So, but you always want to suspect the battery, right? Because even a slightly weak battery can be problematic. So I pulled it out, took it to a local auto parts store. They ran a load test on it, said it looked pretty good. The other thing to consider is bad grounds. Now you can see up here, you've got a ground circuit from the battery. You can hear it's grounded. And you've got a ground circuit lugged to the frame. And of course, any corrosion there could cause a voltage drop. So that was a concern. So then I looked in the engine compartment. You can see in the engine compartment, I've already got the plenum removed to gain further access. There's under this cover right here, that is positive battery voltage. So you can check it here, but you're not. So I had 12.7 up front. And what you can see here, let's see, 12.7 right here. So that's good. You also have voltage to the back of the starter. I've got 12.8 right there, so that's great. So just to point out here, and I'd love to get some insight on this if anybody has any ideas, but the starter motor is right here. So we're facing the back of the car. The starter motor is right here. Let me try that again. One of the starter bolts is right there at the end of this stick. The other starter bolt, they say you can get to from inside the engine compartment or inside the cabin, but it is tucked way down. Right down there. You can just barely see the edge of it. It is right there. It's kind of underneath the starter. Theoretically, is you come in through here and build yourself a crazy wrench arrangement, and I'll show you some of the wrench arrangements I tried. And I tested this out with a dowel just to have a little luck. And you feed this in, and you avoid all these hoses and air conditioning cables, and you get kind of underneath the starter there, and you loosen it. I couldn't do it. I really want to take this out and bench test it. So that's really where I am right now. I really don't know why it started again. It seems to be related to battery voltage. If it happens again, I may just swap out the battery before I do everything else. All right, well, I've got everything put back together. Key, neutral, clutch in. Everything sounds okay. I have not given up on troubleshooting this issue, and certainly haven't found what's really happening yet. I'm going to do a voltage drop test. I didn't know this before, but you can go to DC volts and read the voltage across the fuses. There's a good video on this by the Humble Mechanic, and I've already been through this once, but what you basically do is just check across each fuse and see if there's any voltage shown up. It takes a second to settle, so that's 0.0. This is the one where I had an issue before, I think. So there, the car's in sleep mode, and that's important. I got all the doors latched, I got everything turned off, and it's been sitting for a while. You can see at this fuse I've got 3.3 or so volts, even with everything shut off. And just to show you, here I have 0, 0, 0. Oh, do I have 0? Okay, so you got to get through all the fuses like that. It takes a few minutes. But if I look on the fuse box, that 25 is right here. It's row A, number 9. Row A, number 9. Rear window heater. Rear window heater seems to be using voltage. There's also a chart you can look it up, and I've already looked it up, but it depends on the fuse size. But at a 25 amp fuse with 2 volts across, that means I could be leaking about 0.9 amps. All right, well, I thought I had a leaky fuse, but turns out that I probably just didn't have the probe seated properly on the you got a little plastic between it, and so it read a little bit wrong. So after double checking and swapping some fuses and double checking again, couldn't find anything. So I thought maybe I would try to do a current test through the battery. Well, I'll tell you what, I just set off the car alarm, so I may need to let everything go to sleep again. All right, last test, I think. Right now we're still pulling a couple hours later, 0.10 milliamps. That's on the amp scale. If I switch it to milliamps, all right, it's an hour or so later. We're still at 13 millivolts or milliamps. Hasn't changed a bit. I'm convinced that my issue is maybe a slightly weak battery, and just letting it sit for 10 or 12 days isn't too long. So I'm calling this quits. I think I may replace the battery just to be sure, but I think it's in good shape. I don't think there's any problems to solve here. Done.